Hi everyone, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Saturday, August 30th, 2025, and this is episode 314. My name is Carol. I'm known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada, where it's overcast today. And I'm a bit out of breath because I just came running upstairs. We are sitting in our spare room slash den today. I thought it would be fun to have another change of scenery. So I'm in a bit of a hurry. We are heading out after Cameron gets home from work to go up to the cabins and kind of get some things ready for our son's wedding next weekend. And so I have a few things I need to do. In fact, partway through this, I'm probably going to go pause this and switch the laundry over. But I did want to get another episode out before I go to Norway on the 10th of September. And I just don't anticipate having time before that. So it's going to be a little bit maybe slapdash today. But I really did want to touch base with you before I went, because after that it's going to be a while till I'm back home and able to record again. So I hope you're all doing well, that you've had a good, I think a couple of weeks since I last recorded. Just got to check my notes. It goes so fast. August 14th, yeah, just over a couple of weeks. In that time, I have completed 2 projects, and I've completed a spinning project and also cast on something new to knit. A couple of acquisitions as well. So settle in for a little while, grab yourself something to drink, maybe a project to work on, and I'll tell you what I've been up to. First, just a reminder, as always, there is the Stash Spectacular Make-Along taking place in the Ravelry group. It's a super casual, year-long chatter thread, and so you are more than welcome to jump in anytime at in the group on Ravelry called A Stitch in Time Podcast. Okay, so last episode I'd been working on this hat out of some of my hand spun. The hand spun was from Useful Creations, and this is a BFL. Well, it was a BFL fiber, now it's a BFL yarn. And I knit the I'm the Rock by Shanna S. Cohen, who is Shanna Lines Designs. So it has this twisted rib cuff, and then this garter stitch crown or main body of the hat, I guess you would say, that is broken up by these twisted ribbed or twisted stitches, columns, and then the crown looks like that. It's a little bit different. Your repeat, I think it's 2 rows of knit, 1 of purl, as opposed to just regular garter stitch. So I knit the hat as written for the adult large, but the crown is about a 1/2 inch shorter. And I didn't block it. I probably will, but I'm not sure. It's garter stitch, and I don't know, I don't feel like it really needs a lot of blocking. I'll put it on, mess up my hair, show it to you. I'm not sure it's the best hat for me. I guess it's not too bad. It's slouchy in the back. But if you don't want it to be slouchy, it's pretty easy to just flip up the brim. The opposite side of the brim looks like that, so it looks fine. And if you wanted to wear it more like a toque, or I know a lot of people call that a beanie, we call it a toque here in Canada, you can do that too. It still covers my ears, and it's more close-fitting hat. So I don't know if I'm keeping this one or giving it away, but it was fun to use up some of my hand spun. I just got my hair cut Thursday, and I feel like it needs to grow in just a touch, which it should by the wedding next weekend, so that's good. I don't know how you feel. Most of the time when I get my hair cut, it takes a week or so to kind of just everything settle and go how I like it. So, another thing I finished is a wedding shawl for my future daughter-in-law. So I think I talked about this on the last episode, and I'd asked her if she would be interested. And so she came over and she went through the shawls that I already had. One that caught her eye was this sea gleam shawl by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And I had knit this, well, whenever it was that came out, like a few years ago, out of some lace weight yarn held double. And it's a long crescent. So she did like this, but the color wasn't quite right. There was nothing in my already knit shawls that was just right. So I had her come up to my craft room and look at my yarn, and immediately her eyes went, oh, I don't even have the band. Her eyes went to this pink lace weight yarn that I'd had in my stash for a long time. It's from Zen Yarn Garden. It's called Serenity Lace in the antique pink colorway. And I had received that as part of a club years and years and years ago, and I never knit the shawl that was designed for the yarn. But she said it would be perfect because her dress has like a blush underlining. And so I had her just go through some patterns on Ravelry, and I immediately thought, well, she liked the sea gleam shawl, and I thought I'm going to just take her to the Helen Stewart page where she can go through different shawls and see if something caught her eye. And what did catch her eye almost immediately was the Spindrift shawl. And it is a similar shape. It's also an elongated crescent, but instead of having these eyelets at the top and a lace border, it's just stockinette stitch. So then I asked her if she wanted some beads added in. I had some leftover beads from when I knit our daughter-in-law's shawl a few years ago, and she liked that idea. So off to the races. So that was a week ago Friday, I think. Is that right? Oh, maybe it's more than 2 weeks ago Friday. Because they came over, my son and his fiance came over for dinner, and so Saturday morning I was ready to go, and I ended up knitting this over 2 weekends. It's practically all I worked on, but I did finish it in time, so here it is. And we went over to their place the following Tuesday. The guys went out to play disc golf, and our other daughter-in-law, Stephanie, and then Bronwyn and I, we sat back at their place, and Stephanie and I were knitting, and Bronwyn was working on something, and I was able to hold the yarn up next to her dress, and it's perfect. It's just the right tone. It's this sort of cool grayish pink as opposed to like a Barbie doll pink. It matches the dress perfectly. So I was so thrilled about that, to be able to, put my mind at ease, because you know how hard it can be to match colors. So anyway, here it is. So I ended up also holding the lace weight yarn double, and then I did some extra stockinette rows to make it bigger. And then when I was finished the beading, you're supposed to have 5 rows of the eyelets, and I ended up doing 6 because I had more yarn. In fact, I probably could have done this part bigger, the stockinette section. And in fact, I was going to, and I was using the Sea Gleam shawl as a guide. But what I realized is I thought, oh, this will be fine. I'll just knit as many rows. Like I knew the border and the bind off the border took 30 rows plus the bind off, and I thought I can just find 30 rows plus a bind off back from the pattern row on this one, and then just knit up to that number of rows of plain stockinette. And what I hadn't accounted for is that stockinette takes more yarn than lace. Also, I hadn't realized I was knitting this on a 4mm needle, but I had done this on a 3.75. So I was using up more yarn per row. So then I got scared and I cut back the amount of rows I was going to do significantly. I should have trusted Helen Stewart's percentage system, because as you knit, you can weigh your yarn and know where you are percentage-wise. But I was second-guessing myself, and the last thing I wanted to do was do the bind off and run out of yarn partway through. And so in the end, I ended up doing one more row of the lace, and I know I could have done a little bit more on this section, but it's okay. It's fine. It's actually a nice size, I think, for a wedding shawl. So I'll bring in closer. There, you can see those beads. Oh, and there's the color even better as it's adjusting in and out. That's more like it right there. And so what I ended up doing is offsetting the beads. So I did every second yarn over on the purl row back. I took the yarn over stitch. I used a crochet hook to put a bead onto that stitch, and then I purled it. And so the beads are sitting right in the center of those openings, and I did every second one, and then you can see I offset it on the rows so that it wouldn't be columns of beads. They were offset. So I'm happy with it. I like the weight that the beads add, and they're very subtle, so it's not too too glittering glam. Bronwyn's, that's not her style at all, so I wanted something that would reflect her style. And then it has a picot edge. I considered beading the picots and decided against it, partly in interest of time and partly I thought there were enough beads as it was. So yay, I'm so happy. I was so happy that she wanted me to make her a shawl. It's kind of become a bit of a tradition. My daughter began knitting herself a cape for her wedding, and I ended up finishing it off for her and blocking it, and then I knit one for Stephanie, and then now for Bronwyn. So yeah, I was so happy that she wanted one. So I have to put that somewhere safe and keep it nice and flat till next weekend. So I'll have to, when I take it up there, make sure it's all laid out nicely in the car so it doesn't get crinkled or anything. All right, so moving on to works in progress and spinning combined. Oh, did I have fun with this spin? Not. Yes, I did, and then I did it. So last episode I showed you I was starting to spin a merino nylon braid from Chaotic Fibers, and I had bought it when I bought my e-spinner. And so the problem, I think I had finished spinning all 3 bobbins when I showed it to you last episode, and then I was waiting a few more days to ply it. So my original intention, I'll show you the braid here. It's a gradient, went from, as you can see, from green to yellow to orange to purple, and then back down again. And my original thought, I was going to take the braid in half, split it in half in the middle, and then have 2 lengths that went from purple to green. But when I laid out the braid and then folded it in half, I realized that the 2 halves were not identical. And my idea was to knit to to spin it end to end on each side and then chain ply it so that the colors would remain intact, and then knit a pair of socks. So I decided against that method for two reasons. One is that the two sides of the braid was not identical, and the other, I was worried about maybe not being able to use all the colors in the socks because I don't have very big feet, and I thought I might run out of one end and maybe not be able to include the green or the purple depending which end I started with. And in retrospect, what I could have done is just split the braid vertically down the middle, spun it end to end, and gone from green through to purple back to green. But instead, I decided, I ended up dividing the braid in, I don't even remember exactly. I know I ended up with 4 lengths, and I divided the 4th length into 3, and then as I came up to I spun through the length I had, then I began with that same color and spun the remaining. And then I was going to ply it all together, and I think I showed that to you last episode as I started plying the 3 colors together. But then as I started to ply it, I realized that because of the way the braids were divided, I was just probably going to end up more or less with the whole skein of the 3 colors plied together. And there might be the odd spot where maybe there'd be 2 green and 1 purple, or 2 yellow and 1 green, or whatever, but there wasn't going to be a lot of variation. And I thought, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of starting with a gradient braid. So in the end, what I decided to do was chain ply it, and I started with 1 bobbin, and I just plied, and when I got to the end color, I picked up the next bobbin that had that color on it, and I just plied it all, chain plied. And I was quite happy with my singles, and I was happy with some of my chain plying, but I ended up getting a lot of it over twisted, over plied, and I would try and adjust it, but I just kept going, and I thought, oh, maybe it'll ease out. You know that maybe it will block out thing we knitters do. So when it came off the bobbin, and I transferred it onto my Swift, and I was really pleased because I had almost 400 yards, so I thought that's great. I'll have a perfect amount for a pair of socks, fingering weight, so it did mostly end up in a fingering weight. I say mostly because some areas were thicker because of over plying. And then, yeah, when it came off the Swift, tied it off, it actually looked pretty good. And then I put it in water to soak it, and it just went, and it was just so twisted, and all these little curly cues coming out everywhere. I thought, again, okay, well, after it's blocked, and I squeeze out the water and dry it, maybe that will just relax out of it. Well, it did not. So I thought, what am I gonna do? And so I watched a couple videos on trying to remove twist by running your yarn back through your wheel in spinning in the opposite direction to remove some of the twist. So I thought, well, I had nothing to lose, and I wasn't sure how well it would work because I had chain plied it. And chain plying is basically, you end up with this huge long crochet chain that's twisted as you're pulling this length through the 3 strands of that chain, twist on themselves, and then you keep going. You keep pulling this length of singles through, and the 3 plies spin or twist together, apply together. And if you do it right, you hardly even notice the little knots where each chain stitch joins up. So I wasn't confident that I would be able to take a lot of twist out of it because you do have these chains. And so to me, I thought, well, that twist, you're kind of limited to this much length in order to get twist out. So if you picture just taking 3 strands of yarn, twisting them together, and if you over twisted them, if you were to start untwisting and working your way down like this, you could ease some of that twist out of the yarn because it would just keep working its way down the strand until it comes to the end and then could kind of like release. The energy releases. With chain plying, you're a lot more limited. So, long story long, because obviously it's not short, I did run it back through and really I should have just left it. It did take maybe a little bit of twist out, but it also took a lot of twist out of the areas that actually were plied quite nicely. So I wasn't very happy with the yarn I ended up with. And you can see how bumpy and lumpy and twisty that is. Like that's what I ended up with. The whole skein, it was like that. And then if you look here, like here's this part that actually had been plied pretty well, but you see how loose these plies are? Like they're not, I'm trying to see if you can see that. I'm looking at my hands, but I'm gonna see if I can see. There's the three plies. Trying to find a place where that will show up better. Anyway, they're very loosely plied, so it's not, and then some areas where I chain plied it had a thicker single, so I got bumps. So like you can see there, between there and, I'm trying to see if I can tell where my little knot is. I can't on this one, but I've been feeling them on as I go along. Anyway, yeah, just not very good yarn. But I thought, and this is not too bad. This is quite thin here, but I definitely have this skein, I think this was towards the end, and it's a lot thicker and ropier. There's a lot like that. I don't know if you can see. That has like a ton of twist in here. It's very, very twisted, very ropey. So it's not soft, it's hard. And anyway, I decided that I was going to knit with it anyway. My idea was to make a pair of socks because it was merino nylon, and so as I wound it off, I kept track of the colors, and it actually went in sequence. And I ended up with like a middle stretch of green. And so what I did is it had started with green and I had the middle part of green. So I measured off, and I basically divided the skein in half, but I manipulated it so I had a green section that was the same length at the beginning of each of the 2 balls that I wound off. So that's where I started and did cuffs. And I really didn't know how well they were going to match up after that. And in fact, they do not, other than being the same color progression, they don't, as you see, they don't match up. But that's partly the nature of the plying. This one's definitely thicker and more twisted. Part of it's how thin I spun the singles. Part of it's when I divided the braids, how equal the sections were. But you know, I just decided I didn't care. I was just going to knit them. It's a good learning experience for me. Anyway, so there's a 2x2 rib cuff, And then what I did do is I took the green from the other end of the ball and I did a traditional heel flap and gusset in green. And then I even had to do some management there because one of the green sections was longer than the other. So I ended up splitting the other cake and taking some green out of it for this sock actually. And this heel, like if you could feel this heel is really thick. This portion of the skein was very thick and ropey, so like this heel is much more cushy than the other one. This sock overall is definitely thicker and cushier, but that's okay. So yeah, there they are side by side. So you can see I'm still working on the gusset on this one. It's just come into green again. This one is just starting green. So you can see even just the section of yellow compared to each other. So that is the amount of yellow that was on this skein, where this skein had like this much yellow. And then the difference up there too, you can see, which is what threw them off. So that's okay. If they're fraternal twins, I would never probably have gotten them perfectly matching anyway. That's the nature of spinning, or definitely the nature of my spinning at this stage. So not 100% happy with them, but just, you know, it's still usable yarn. And I got to work with the fun colors. So as I've said more than once, the green and the orange and the purple remind me of popsicles, and so that's what I'm calling my popsicles socks, and just enjoying the colors, enjoying the process, and enjoying learning some lessons. So what I'm taking away from this is a few things. One is to have a definite plan before I start, because I was kind of wishy-washy. I was like, well, I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna divide it into two and then spin each section, chain ply it. And partway through, that's when I changed my mind. So then I was kind of improvising in a way and not really thinking out, you know, not realizing, yeah, you can spin all three colors together, but when this ply goes from green to yellow to orange and the one beside it goes from, let's say, you know, I was going to end up with almost always having all three colors, or I guess there's actually 4 colors in here, but it was going to look more or less the same throughout the skein. And that wasn't really what I wanted. The whole point of having a gradient yarn is to, you know, show it off. So then to go back to my original plan, but by that time the braid had been divided into more sections. Like, it was just, that's a good lesson to take away, is like, have an idea and stick to it. Another thing would be, I watched some videos afterwards about plying. One about chain plying. That's still a work in progress for me. Getting the right rhythm and getting the right hand movements. So that's been a challenge. But also, as you're going, don't just keep going. Stop and take a look at what you're creating and adjust accordingly. So I did adjust my tension a little bit throughout, but I wasn't consistent enough, and that's why I ended up with this overspun yarn, because actually the first part of the bobbin would have been fine. It was later on that was getting all twisty and stuff, and part of that, I think, is as I was working with yarn that was towards the center of the bobbins that I had spun in originally. So I had let them rest a long time, but I think there was still a lot of energy in the second half of all of them. So as I was pulling them up, they were already twisted more, and then I wasn't taking as much time to smooth out the strands as I was spinning, playing them. And so taking more time and checking things more as I went. So instead of like doing the whole skein and then realizing that half of it was crap. Anyway, everything I do is a learning process. It's a new to me craft, and I'm just trying to embrace the learning experience with it. And I still love it, and I'm still going to get socks out of it, just maybe not the socks I had originally envisioned. But that's okay. That's okay. Chaotic Fibers is going to be at Knit City in at the end of September. So I'm hoping that she has some more either merino or other breeds blended with nylon, so I can pick up another skein or two of yarn that I can spin into socks. Because to me, that's just so cool to be able to wear socks that I spun all the yarn myself. I must have been talking a lot because tea is no longer hot. I do have acquisitions. So after I came home from our trip to Regina, I was disappointed we didn't have a chance to visit any yarn shops in Regina or get any, Saskatchewan yarn. So I went online and I was looking at some Saskatchewan dyers, and then I have bought Mid-Knit Cravings yarn before, both in person. They were at Knit City a few years ago, and online. So I was looking at their website, and they have a colorway. It just came yesterday, and it was in a vacuum sealed pouch. So, sorry, I just dropped the label. So I haven't actually skeined these or twisted the skeins up, but so this is how it looks all undone. Anyway, this colorway is called Queen City, which is dyed for Regina. So, this is inspired by Regina. So I thought, well, that's perfect. I'm going to get that for myself. Nice colors. And then I didn't want to just order one skein, because then when you pay shipping, it makes it not worthwhile. So then I looked on their website and I found a colorway called Storm Chaser. By the way, this is the light sock, which is an 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon. So yeah, this is Mid-Knit Cravings. They are out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which I think might be, I'm not sure if that's that might be the next largest city. In any case, I thought we had encountered several rainstorms while we were there, and I thought this would be a nice color to do a pair of socks for Cameron out of. So I'm going to do that for either Christmas or his birthday, depends on when I get around to it. His birthday's in February, so if I don't get it done in time for Christmas, I can do it for his birthday. But I thought that would be a fitting one for him. So we'll have his and hers socks of a sort. Souvenir socks for both of us anyway. Sorry, my bra strap keeps falling down. It's driving me crazy. So that brings me to up and coming. So as I mentioned, we're heading up later today to the cabin just for 2 nights to go out. We're actually going to stay at my mom's place. She lives in a small town about 17 kilometers, 10 miles from the cabins. Rather than go and mess things up out there and have to plan meals and all the ingredients that go into them, we are going to stay at my mom's overnight, Saturday night tonight. Tonight is Saturday. Stay tonight, stay over tomorrow night, and then come home. It's a long weekend here in Canada. It's Labor Day weekend, and then the kids go back to school on Tuesday. So traffic, I'm sure, will be crazy coming home Sunday, so we're not going to leave too late. But basically what we're going to do is go up after work today, stay overnight at Mom's. She's going to go to church in the morning, and then we will head out to the cabins, take a picnic lunch, and just make sure beds are made, the cabins tidy, bathrooms are clean, do a little bit of yard work, just tidy things up for the wedding the following weekend. So I've got car time this weekend, so I'll work on my popsicle socks, but I also am going to wind up some more yarn in case I run out of knitting. And then of course going back and forth to the cabin the following weekend, I'll have knitting time, and then I leave for Norway 2 days after we get back, and it's a bus tour, so I'm going to have a lot of knitting time. So I have a selection of yarns here that I'm going to choose from for my next pairs of socks, which I will show you. So I'm thinking I might cast this on, but then I also thought we're going into fall. This is called Season's Turn. Season's Turn. I showed this to you earlier this summer. This is from 100 Mile House, which is north of, about an hour's drive north of where my mom lives, and we had gone up there earlier this summer. She's also going to be at Knit City, so I thought, well, that might be appropriate considering we're heading into fall. Plus it's a local to the cabins BC yarn. But then I also had showed you last week, I picked up this souvenir yarn, or this yarn in Calgary when we were on our trip. It's called Ice Cream Sunday from Ancient Arts. So kind of that would be a good one to knit up. So I've got several on my mind for kind of over the next couple weeks. But then when I'm in Norway, I want to knit an Arna and Carlos yarn from Regia. So I have several choices. So these two are from the Lofoten collection. This is 3884. I have Leknes is the name of it. And then this one is 3883. And this one is SVLOAER. So slower maybe. And this one's Leknes. I don't know how to speak Norwegian. So I'm thinking maybe one of those. I'm kind of leaning towards the green. And then I also have a couple of skeins from their Mountains and Fjords collection, which knit up like that. So these ones knit up like I think it's focusing. Hopefully it's focusing. It's hard to tell. And our bus tour is taking us, some of the things we're doing. We're going to, the main places are Oslo. We fly in and out of Oslo. We're going to Bergen, and we're going to Lillehammer and seeing where the Olympics were. I can't remember what year that was, but I do remember, watching it on TV, parts of it. Anyway, we are going to be seeing some mountains and fjords. So I thought one of those would be appropriate. And again, I'm not sure which one. So what I might do is cast on socks out of one of these and one of these to go on my trip. And then one of these for my next socks, sort of at home. And I mean, I might take these, if I'm not finished, take a pair to finish up while I'm gone. But I had someone, Polly, he asked about how I decide what yarn to take for working, or what project for the plane. And he says he finds it hard to knit on planes because it's tight, which I agree on. And fortunately, I don't swing my arms around a lot when I knit. They're pretty compact, so yes, it can be a bit squishy to knit. But I think this trip I'm just going to take socks. I don't anticipate doing a lot of knitting on the way there. Our plane leaves at about, I think it's 8:45 in the evening, and so it's an overnight flight. I don't anticipate doing a lot of knitting. I can't remember what time we come home, what time we leave Norway. I know we arrive in daytime here, but I can't remember what time we leave there. But I do anticipate on the bus as we're driving around, I do anticipate knitting on the bus. But as for plain knitting, I usually try and take something pretty simple, something I've already started, so I'm not trying to figure out casting on and stuff on the plane. I have never had a problem with taking knitting needles. And these are pretty sharp, so hopefully I don't have any trouble. I never have before, but I always pack scissors in my checked luggage, and I only will usually pack one project for the plane, and the rest of the knitting stuff I will pack in my check bag, just in case something happens. I have a backup project, and to keep it simple and keep my carry-on as minimal as possible. But I also at times have taken things that are a little more interesting than just socks, because that can help pass the time better. I do find if it's just knitting socks round and round, it can get a little bit boring, unless I'm watching something on the screen, or like when I'm traveling, looking out the window, then I'm not as bored. So hope that answers your question. Okay, so been prepping for our trip. For me, I think that one of the things, well, it's funny, we were going to Norway with my mom, with one of my sisters, and my niece. And my niece and my sister and I have been chatting together a little bit in a messenger group. And the conclusion is we're all feeling very unprepared for this trip, considering it's been in the works since March. For me, with just everything going on with moving and renos and now the wedding, it's just like it's taken a back seat. And then it was like, holy cow, I mean, I got to get on this. So, I've done the important things. I've got my passport renewed. I got there's a visitor's visa or something for the UK now. And even though we're just going to be in the airport, we don't actually need it. We're transferring in and out of Heathrow. We got it just in case. Because if something happens and we have to stay and we want to be able to spend some time in London, or need to spend some time in London, then we have the visa. So I got that taken care of. The big thing for me was clothes. I have grown out of some clothes this year, and I really wanted to make sure I had things that were going to be comfortable. So I finally went clothes shopping this week, and got some new pants and some few new tops and a cardigan. And I really tried to introduce some color into my wardrobe, but ended up with everything black. Black and white. It was ridiculous. I just couldn't find the things I wanted in colors. So I do have some tops I'm taking are my old ones, which have some color to them, but mostly I'm going to end up with like black pants or jeans and black background t-shirts and black cardigan or a little hoodie. And I picked up actually a fantastic lightweight hooded jacket, and it's one of those sort of puffy jackets that looks like it's down, but it's not, and it's made for travel, and it came with a little bag. I can stuff it down to this little bag, so that'll be fantastic for packing. But yeah, only color it was available in black. So I'm thinking I need to take some kind of colored scarf or something just to brighten things up, because normally I wear a fair bit of color on the top. So it's kind of depressing to think, my God, I'm just going on this happy holiday and I'm just gonna look black. So then wedding stuff too, so feel a great relief in getting that shawl done. That was just a huge weight off my shoulders to get it finished and get it blocked. It's a small wedding. There are only 30 guests, and it's up at the cabins, as I mentioned. So they're getting married down by the lake, which is maybe, I don't know, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile away from our cabins. And then coming back, there's like a little catered luncheon, and then a dinner later on. And then the Friday night beforehand, when people are going to start arriving on Friday, they're doing a barbecue for that night. So Cameron and I have taken that on. We're getting the food and everything for the barbecue. So we've been sat down last night, started making a grocery list and things, and then also we are going to figure out some breakfast kind of foods for the cabins so that people, wake up and have something to eat Saturday and Sunday. Most people are going home Sunday. And then Cameron and I, one of my sisters and her husband, Colin and Bronwyn, and a couple other people are going to be staying until Monday. And so we are going to be starting Sunday, start shutting things down for the winter. So as cabins empty out, we'll make sure they're clean, drain the water, and then the last thing we'll do is drain the system water and winterize everything. So going to be a lovely weekend, I'm sure. And I'm feeling a little bit more calm about it now that the shawl's done, now that I've sort of worked out menus and grocery lists. Got clothing for Norway. I've been washing that, starting to set it aside. So now I'm don't have as much anxiety as I have had the last little while. I've not been sleeping well, and I know that a lot of it's just a lot of stuff on my mind. But I did have a good sleep last night. And then our renovations and moving in stuff continues. Yesterday, the tile went up for the backsplash in the kitchen. So it's nice to see that. It's amazing what a difference that makes. The grout in that is not going to happen till Wednesday because this particular tile we chose needed at least a day to set properly before we did the grout. So because of the long weekend and I guess another job, the guy's not coming back till Wednesday morning, but that's fine. We're not going to be here half that time anyway, and we can still use our kitchen, so that's fine. But it's neat to see that wrapping up. We've been just doing some things like hanging pictures up. Cameron got the for the bathrooms, like the towel rings and holders, toilet paper holders, things like that we'd purchased but hadn't been mounted yet. Those are all up. Just all these little things. We're just getting closer and closer to being done. I know I talked last episode about baseboards and casings and things, and so that is not happening till probably October. So once I get back, I should have time to buy the stuff we need and give it its coat of paint before it gets installed, and then I can go around and touch up. So just that again was a big relief. Like, okay, we're not trying to fit all this in before before I go, because the time has just flown by. I can't believe we're at the end of August. The summer, like, we blinked and it was gone. But I just keep remind myself this is it's not a usual year, and that's okay. Next year will be more normal, and I'll have more time for normal things. We did get our sofa bed. We're sitting here in our spare room. I think I mentioned that already. So we have a queen sofa bed here for guests, and you can see we got some pictures up. Yeah, I thought it would be kind of fun to record in here today. We have a comfy chair. It's the same model as the one in my craft room, and it kind of goes with the couch. So we've got a nice little sitting area in here. We don't have our TV set up down in our living room yet, and we're still debating whether we're even going to do that. But Cameron will come up here. I don't watch much TV, but he comes up here and watches it. If we put it downstairs, I can see that he might still come up here to watch TV in the evening. On the other hand, I could go up to my craft room and do my thing while he's watching TV downstairs. But it's nice to have two separate areas we can spend time, because that's mostly how we spend it. But there is now a place for me to sit if we do want to watch TV together up here, like when curling comes back on or something like that. So yeah, it feels good. Things are, yeah, bit by bit we're getting settled. And then because here, this leads me to something good. So because we finally got our sofa bed, our granddaughter was able to sleep overnight. We talked about this right when we moved, that she'd come over, stay overnight, and we'd go swimming. We've been here, I think it's 5 months, April, May, June, July, August. Yeah, 5 months now. And we had not even gone in the pool. And so, again, I mean, she could have just come over one day this summer to go swimming, but that didn't really work out either. So we got our sofa bed. We arranged for Tuesday. She came, we went and picked her and our grandson up and took them out for dinner. And then we took our grandson home. And then Emily stayed overnight here, and then I went back in the morning to pick up her brother, and then we, the three of us, went swimming. So they have like kids hours, so we can't just go anytime, but the 11 to 12 is for kids. And we went swimming, and there was no one else there, so we had the pool to ourselves, and they loved it, and I loved it. I thought, I could see myself coming in and swimming some laps or something. So again, once we're all settled in, you know, maybe we can make use of that building. I mean, obviously we're paying towards it with our strata fees, so we should get some use out of it. We did book it, the clubhouse, for Christmas, the week after Christmas this year. It's my turn to host my family's get together. And so this is pretty small place to have like 30 something people in, but the clubhouse is perfect. There's a kitchen right there, and it'll all be decorated for Christmas. So I was told anyway, and so it'll be a nice place to host the family. So yeah, we're definitely happy with our decision to move and really liking where we are. And as more and more things get done in our own place, it's, you know, feeling more and more like home, and we're able to fully live in it. So yeah, it's been good. Anyway, that is it. I will not be recording until sometime after I get home from Norway. So towards the end of September. It's probably going to be close to a month before I do record again. So take care until then. I'll try and have some, some photos and maybe a little bit of video and stuff from our trip. And I was checking out yarn stores in Oslo today. I do not know how much opportunity I am going to have, if any, to shop at any yarn stores or buy any yarn while I'm away. But I'm hoping somewhere along our travels there's at least something I can get as far as souvenir yarn goes. But in the meantime, I'll enjoy my Orna and Carlos and fully immerse myself in that experience. So thanks for watching as always. Have a good month or so till we chat again. Seasons are changing, whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere, so enjoy this transition period, and I look forward to talking to you again in a few weeks. Bye everyone.